Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Nursing Uncharted. It's your host, Anne. And if you're watching this, you can tell from behind me, this is the holiday season. And this is going to be the last episode of 2024. And, wrapping up this season of Nursing Uncharted. So I was thinking about how I wanted to end this. This is my first year with you guys. And I really just kind of reflected on what it's like being a nurse around the holidays. You know, most people look forward to the holidays. It's time with our family. It's a time where we get to see people that we maybe haven't seen in a long time. But in the healthcare industry, especially for nurses, we sacrifice that time that people look forward to be in the hospital with our patients. And I know that that can be very frustrating. It can, we're scrambling to find a trade because we don't want to miss our kids opening presents or seeing the grandparents we haven't seen in a long time. But for me personally, I thought I could just share like my take on the holidays and, how I feel about them. And then at the end, kind of share a really special story with you about a Christmas in the NICU that I'll never forget. So, my whole nursing career, a little bit of personal information on me. I don't have any kids. So, when I first got into nursing, I always thought, I'm going to work Christmas for people that have kids so they don't miss out on, their kids opening presents or, I kind of took one for the team, but not because I was expecting anything in return, but just because I it just maybe it means a lot to me, but it didn't. I thought it meant more to other people. So I enjoyed working Christmas. I enjoy all the things we did working in a children's hospital. Santa usually would come around, or we would make fun little cards with the baby's footprints or handprints and give those to the parents. And it was a happy time in the NICU for me, and, I know that it's not always the case, and there are some terrible days that unfortunately land on the holidays, but for for nurses, yes, we feel that we're maybe missing out on these special events in our lives, but I kinda look at it the other way. I look at it as, like, what are those patients and their families missing out on? And in my opinion, I feel that they're missing out a little bit more than we are. And if we can show up and bring them a little bit of joy on a really sad day for them, that's what fills my heart. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm a nurse. I think that we sacrifice ourselves a lot and sometimes too much. And that can be really overwhelming. It can be really taxing. And especially around the holidays, it can be a little bit harder and it can really bring us down. But if we're able to look at the other side of that as we're bringing the joy to the patients who are going through probably the worst time in their lives, especially for me. I work in a neonatal ICU. So I work with babies that are born that are unfortunately sick. So especially on Christmas, you have a baby, you're expecting to be home. This is your child's first Christmas. And it's kind of robbed of them a little bit. So if I can bring some joy, some smiles, maybe some laughter to them, that's my purpose. And that's why I always enjoy working Christmas in the NICU. Uh, a funny story is I had someone gave me this elf microphone, and I was going to make a 10-year anniversary of the video that I made one year of me singing All I Want for Christmas into this elf microphone, and it was recorded. It kind of went a little viral in my small town, and it was received very well by a lot, but some people weren't happy about it. So, a little lesson learned is we gotta mind our environment a little bit. And even though we're having fun, we got to make sure that we're not offending anyone. But for the most part, the feedback I got from the families was positive, being that having to be in the hospital on Christmas and seeing the nurses trying to make it the best was what really got them through a difficult time, especially being on Christmas. So, when I reflect on working the holidays, there's one story that I will never forget. There was a baby born at 24 weeks, and it will be 13. She'll be 13 this year, this baby. And at 24 weeks, 13 years ago, it was a very grim story. A lot has changed, a lot has advanced in neonatal medicine. Um, it's relatively a new, form of medicine if you look at the grand scheme of things. So the changes that have been made since 2011 are huge. So viability is now changed. And at that time, 24 weeks was the cutoff for viability. So for this family, having to deliver their baby this premature was the most terrifying day for them. And I have been in contact with them throughout these years. We're friends. I get updates on how she's doing. And one of the first stories they told me after they left the NICU, and yes, I actually went to her first birthday party, and they shared so many of their memories that I was unaware of, but how they viewed my part in their life and in their stay in the NICU. And one of the first things is she was born on Christmas. It was my very first Christmas in the NICU. I was wearing jingle bells, a Santa hat, and I had this elf microphone, which I have right here. So if you're watching, you can kind of see it. It changes your voice to like an elf voice. And I was singing jingle bells. And the very first time her father came in to visit her, that's what he saw. So he saw me with a couple other nurses smiling and having a good time on the scariest day of his life. And some may be listening thinking, "Oh, how, disrespectful, like, how could you do that when someone's going through a difficult time?" But the feedback that I got from him later was that made this experience for him less scary. Seeing that the nurses weren't scared. The nurses weren't, constantly worried about what was going on. It was like, okay, I can take a deep breath and I can come in here and it's not so bad. It's not so scary. So, just those lighthearted things that you can do may make a huge impact for someone. And that's what happened. So, this little girl, I bonded with the family over their stay. There was 3 nurses that kinda took care of her the most. We didn't do primary nursing at my hospital at that time, but the 3 of us took care of her majority of the time. And in because of that, I mean, she spent 96 days in the NICU. So, if you think about having the same nurses for over 3 months is a lot, and it's hard not to form relationships and friendships and trust, and that's something that I always have carried with me as a nurse, is my goal every time I meet a new family is to have them trust that when they're not there, I will take care of their child the way that they would take care of their child, and that's what I strive to do, and I learned that from my preceptor, and my preceptor was actually one of the nurses that was taking care of, this baby with me, so she was part of the 3 people that, always took care of her, and we've just maintained that relationship, and I've heard the stories of how each of us have impacted and made their stay in the NICU better. And yes, she was born on Christmas, so, it wasn't always a holiday when they were there, but it started on that day. And that's why when I was thinking about how I wanted to wrap up this season and, wrap up the holidays, I thought you guys might like to hear my very first Christmas in the NICU and what that was like and how that kind of changed my projection of my career. Because I think of that day every Christmas, if not more. And the positive feedback that I got from the family has pushed me to hopefully create that same positive experience for another family on the worst day of their lives, potentially. So, I I guess I could just give it away now, but at the very end of this episode, I want you guys to stay tuned. We're gonna piece it together, but I talked to this family and they wanted to come on here as well and share their side of the story. So they they share what nurses can do and did do for them And I just think that so many people, not only nurses, but whoever's listening to this can take away from one of the most grim experiences that a family could ever imagine going through, and how people, nurses, hospital staff, everyone that has been a part of that stay for them has given them a positive outlook on this scary situation. So, a little brief my side of the story is Callie was born on Christmas. I had that jingle bell experience as her father walked in. There was a time that I didn't even know about, that her mom told me at her first birthday party that I was really worried about how she was acting that day, and I advocated for her and thinking, okay, that's what we do, right? That's what nurses do. That's what our job is we recognize the subtle changes. And in babies, they don't talk to us. So we have to be focused on how they're behaving. And I guess I noticed something off, which I hope that I always do that. But I was so unaware that me being proactive with what her mom saw, her mom viewed as saving her life. And saying that, I mean, I just got a pit in my stomach because I never thought of it that way in the moment. And even when I hear that story and her tell that side of the story, it still takes me back a little bit and makes you realize and reflect on how important nurses are in the success of our patients' outcome. And, she said that I advocated. I said I felt something was off. I, convinced the doctors to, listen to me and take a look and do a very soft septic workup. And lo and behold, it came back positive with E. coli. And if you know anything about neonatal medicine, E. coli sepsis is very fatal to babies, and if not fatal, very devastating. And that didn't happen because of early intervention and early signs that, are very subtle sometimes. And that that is that is why, like, that story is not for me to brag about what I did because I was so unaware, because that's what I always feel that nurses should do and should be. We're the eyes and ears of the doctors making the medical decisions for the patients. But just, you know, me telling my story and advocating, and it being a successful story should be inspiring for you not to back down. It's hard when you have a gut feeling, and sometimes that's all we can go off of is a gut feeling, and we just push and push and push. And it's hard because, not everyone is receptive to that. We're busy. Your baby may not be, or your patient, and not even baby, may not be the sickest patient on the unit. But if we feel that something is off, we need to make sure that those feelings are heard and are looked into. And in my case, and in Callie's case, it saved her life. And now she is a beautiful, amazing, successful, like, powerful, going to be 13-year-old little girl. And I just hope that that can resonate with you guys, and just encourage you to trust your instinct and to just continue to advocate for your patients. And I know that has nothing to do with Christmas and the holidays, but this story is Christmas to me. When I think of Christmas in the NICU, this is the story. So I really want her family to be able to tell you the rest of this. I don't want to give too much away. So, I just want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm so excited for the next year with Nursing Uncharted. I think it's going to be a really amazing new adventure for all of us. And I think this episode is going to be a good way to wrap up 2024. I'm ready for that for so many personal reasons. And stay tuned, because this next part of the episode is truly a Christmas miracle. As promised, I have some very special guests to introduce to all of you. Them being here means more to me than I can even put into words. So I am so happy to introduce Mark, Den, and a very special girl, Callie. So thank you guys for being here with me today. I'm sure this is going to be emotional for all four of us, but we'll get through it. So I kind of shared with everyone my story of what it's been like working on Christmas. And this is the Christmas that I will never forget. And I'm sure you guys will never forget it either because you celebrate a birthday every year on Christmas. So
Right.
I kind of wanted to get your side of things and just, briefly tell me about, your story, what it was like getting to the hospital that actual day, and then we can kind of get into some fun things about our relationship and how that helped you get through Callie's stay in the NICU.
Where to even begin? Um, I was a restaurant manager and I was very sick and for a couple weeks and I went off to the hospital, or actually I went to the doctor's office, and uh from there they sent me to the hospital. It was 2 days before Christmas. We were supposed to be making gingerbread houses with our 2-year-old that night. Um, they told me they were just gonna run a couple tests there and send me off. They thought that I was having appendicitis because of where I had a pain. Um, it was very quick that we got into the hospital that they realized that I had HELP syndrome, and so they were scurrying around because our hospital wasn't equipped to take care of that. So they were trying to find out how to get me to a different location for a hospital that could. We had Geisinger insurance at the time. They started to make out paperwork for me to go to Pittsburgh, but then figured out very quickly that I had to go to Geisinger. Thank God.
Yeah.
So I went in an ambulance. Mark went home to try to find care for our then 2-year-old and pack a bag and met me in Geisinger
And that
for
was two days before Christmas.
Yep, the 23rd.
2 days.
It was Friday,
Okay.
December 23rd.
Oh my gosh. See, I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember if you were life flight, had to go in and at the helicopter like the day of, but yeah. So you spent 2 days prior to delivering at Geisinger.
So they basically said, "We think you have HELPS. We're gonna do like a." They were like collecting like urine
Yeah.
to like test it, and I started like a magnesium drip and all these things, and they were like, "We're gonna watch your levels, so we'll have 48 hours." They gave me a shot to form her lungs, and then I had to have another one within 24 hours to, I guess, solidify that. And
Yes.
they said that they would know for sure if it was HELPS if the levels started going up, and I only made it 30 some hours, and they knew that.
Oh, yeah, 36 hours.
Yeah, they knew. They were like, "All your numbers are creeping up. This is what you have. You have to you're having a baby."
Yeah.
I was in denial.
We thought we were gonna be going home.
I was
Like,
like in denial.
it originally was that they were gonna get it under control and we could possibly get home, but then Christmas morning, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
We're delivering the baby.
Yeah, so we had like a good almost 48 hours to think about what was going on
Yeah. And
at
I mean,
Geisinger.
at this, it'll be 13 years, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, 13 years ago, I think about just like neonatal medicine has changed so much. So, at 24 weeks, I'm sure you've had the conversations with the doctors and things are not they are not the things that you want to hear. So,
She was
that's
3 days viable.
Yeah, they told.
She made it by 3 days. If Den would have went in when she originally started having the issues, they would have terminated it. But
yeah. Oh,
because it was weighted,
Mm.
she made it 3 days past the deadline, and that's when all that started rolling. We're going here, we're doing this.
yeah.
We're only capable of 32 weeks, I think. Johnstown at the time was 28 weeks, and Geisinger was 24 weeks.
Yeah.
Geisinger, Pittsburgh were 24 weeks. So, like I said, we were on our way to Pittsburgh until they realized what insurance was, and we went to Geisinger.
I'm so grateful that you did come to come to this hospital. So, that morning, what time was she born?
10:10.
10:10.
10:10. Tell me tell me about Mark, you came in first, right? You came into the NICU first? Or did you guys come in
Yeah.
together? You came
No.
in first.
No, because I'd have a season,
You had to stay.
Yeah.
so I was out of it,
Yeah.
and I came to during surgery. Like I started to feel stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So Mark, tell me about your first steps into the NICU and seeing Callie.
Well, when you first go in, you got there's beds everywhere.
Yeah.
So you've got certain areas that's broke down to. So when you first walk in, it's just like things everywhere. There's all the equipments and people running around, and you got babies and making all kinds of noises, and then you've got where the area we call the ding dong pods, because all those 8 incubators did the whole time was made noises and beeped and so yeah, we kind of like called it that area, but that's it's like a shock when you walk in
Yeah.
because of everything that you see going on. There's things everywhere going on, and of course the part of the unexpected part of the nurses having the karaoke elf microphone party.
I
So
brought it out just for you
that
guys.
that there, so that was like, well, that's different. 'Cause I wasn't offended by it. Supposedly there was some issues, but I thought it was um break the ice. Well, it's not all bad in here if you're able to find the good in anything. So
Yeah.
I did not mind it at all. It was not me that complained about it for even a little bit. I thought it was hilarious that it was happening. So
Yeah.
yeah, but the whole, when you walk through the doors, you don't know what to expect. You're already in shock over what is happening. And then to go in and see dozens of it happening, it's a shock. It's
Yeah.
definitely, it takes you off, it catches you off guard, what's going on. And there's so
Right.
many different things, so many different ones. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know that sometimes people can get like a tour of the NICU, but I'm pretty sure that probably didn't happen ahead of time for you
Oh
guys.
no,
Oh no, there
No.
was no time for that.
they just
Yeah.
handed her through like a drive-through window.
Yeah.
That
The takeout window.
Yeah,
Yep.
basic, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Don't look behind this curtain. And when she came out, she basically went through a drive-up window, and
Yeah.
she was done.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then Mark saw her, and it was hours before I saw her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hours and hours.
And that's what I couldn't remember if you guys came together, but I thought I remember Mark coming first and
No,
then
Mark
you came
came,
in the bed.
I think, alone,
Yeah.
and took some
Yeah.
pictures, just him
Mhm.
alone with her. One of you took pictures of him with her, like at the isolette,
Yeah.
because I have those. But I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then I came like hours and hours later.
Do you remember your first
I
visit?
remember being wheeled in. You were with me. I was still on the car, like on a gurney or
Yeah.
in my
The
bed.
bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
I don't know what the
took you
proper
in the bed.
terms were, but I was
Yeah.
being carted in, and I passed you singing, you and Alyssa, and
Oh,
Kim,
Alyssa.
and Kim was our NICU nurse,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I put my face against the isolette and started to fall asleep.
Yeah. Fall asleep on-
Oh, I
Well,
I started
remember
to fall
that.
asleep on. Do you remember?
I do remember that. I do actually remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, because in my brain, this was all a dream.
Yeah.
It had to be over soon. So I got there, I saw that it was true, and I had a minute, and that was all. We didn't stay there very long. We weren't there. She was there was that was at a point where you couldn't touch her or even put your
Yes.
hand in or do anything. So it was
Right.
basically like,
Aquaphor Saran wrap.
yeah. So
So
know.
yeah,
That
yeah, and
picture that I
legitly
remember is the
Saran
saran
wrap,
wrap with
like,
your it is. It's
yeah, I mean,
saran wrap. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was the first experiences.
Yeah.
I remember
So
being very overwhelmed by the noises and just rows of babies.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like in my head.
Yeah.
Probably not. I know now exactly how many isolettes are in each room, but from logging
Yeah.
in lots of time in each one. But I remember being like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And it took I remember the conversations that we had,
Mhm.
a few days in, and just the amount of time that I did spend taking care of her, just the conversations that you and I had where you didn't want to bond with her because of how
No.
scary this was. And you didn't want to, we didn't know what was going to happen with
Well,
her.
the thing with me is that I went into, like, every day, like, today's the day she's gonna die and this can just be done.
Oh,
Because I didn't truly
yeah.
really think that she was going to live, because everything I looked at on the internet till they took my phone from me didn't show amazing stories.
Right.
So then Mark left because he had to get home to Ty, and he went back to work, and I was just there, and everybody just expected me to go sit at her bedside, and that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I was
Yeah.
hiding in various places of the hospital until Mark would tell me that I had to go sit there. So I would go sit there, and then it finally got easier, but I was still afraid. And every time the alarms went off, it was awful. And then it just got a little easier. I had
Yeah.
to find, like, my own way through it. And you helped a lot. And Alyssa helped a lot because you were telling me that she wasn't the sickest one you've ever seen, and she wasn't the smallest one you've ever seen, but she was pretty close. And
Third.
yeah, she was
The,
pretty
the
close.
smallest.
I think she was the third smallest.
Right.
Yeah.
And that it was, I started to, like, believe that maybe it was gonna get better,
Yeah.
and then
And
it
it
got
did.
worse.
Well,
No, then it got worse because when you caught the septic situation, you knew that your baby wasn't acting
yeah.
correctly right away. We did
Do you
not.
do you know that I did not remember that story until the time I came to visit you, and you
Oh.
wanted to show me the video that you had made, the PowerPoint, and you
Uh-huh.
sat there and you told me that I caught that, and I never, like, I think it's just because as a nurse, like, we just do our job. Like, we don't, like,
Right.
that's
Right.
what I'm supposed to do, and, like, that really, like, affected me. Like, that made me, like, I mean, it makes me wanna cry now because I never really saw it as that, but, hearing that from you, it just, like, I don't know, just, like, warmed my heart, like it did, and
Oh, well, you
Yeah.
basically saved her life because she was septic, and you started an antibiotic before before the
Doctor
test
did.
came back. Like, they were you were like, "My baby's not acting the same." So you started an antibiotic. Well, obviously you got
Yeah,
permission, but you started an antibiotic and said, like, "I know she's just not acting right. She's not acting like she was." You had spent, like, 3 days on or 2 days
yeah,
on, like, whatever. And so you started it, and then they came in and swabbed her, did whatever, and she was septic.
yeah, and it was bad. It was E. coli, right?
Yeah, it was E.
Yeah.
coli, and
Yeah,
then she wasn't on the proper antibiotic, so they had to change her to a different one, but just because she got that, she didn't get as sick as she could have been, and
yeah.
you did all of that. And see, I
Well,
barely remember any of those terrible things, but my husband here remembers everything. He kept a book for
yeah.
the whole time because I would only hear, like, one bad word from any of the rounds, and I would be like, "This is it. It's time."
I had
Yeah,
I had alternate calling because of that.
Because of
When it would make rounds and I wasn't there for the conversation, one trigger word screwed the whole thing up. And
yeah,
whether it was dying, whether it was jet respirator, whether it was another transfusion, or it was a bolus or whatever. So any one of those are negative impacts,
yeah,
then her mind just went. And the other thing was, in the beginning when we talked about taking her phone, was they gave her a whole bunch of books, which was horrible to do because she read all those terrible stories.
in my day.
And, like, so anytime there was transfusion, it went back to the book where there's, like, huge issues, or it went to whatever it was. So her mind spiraled, and when I would call in and be like, "What'd they say?" She goes, "I don't know."
Oh, she's
What do
getting
you
neck.
mean?
She's getting neck right now. She's
Um,
gonna have surgery. Like, I'd be
like, it would be a spiral, and I was like, "I can't do this." So
yeah.
I would call in. I don't remember exactly the time of rounds. I want to say rounds was at like 5 in the morning or something, 5:30, and I'd call in at like 6:30 after rounds were done, and then they would tell me the
What really
update, and then
happened?
I could correct, like, fill in Dan's holes there where, "Babe,
Yeah,
you missed this." Like, "No, no,
yeah,
no, I understand, but no, it was this, this, and this."
yeah,
So, um, being able to do that from a remote location definitely helped because, it's not a fault of anything. It's just you're there, stuff's not sounding good, and
Yeah.
you just go into a spiral. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well, we eventually got better. I mean, then
Oh,
you
oh yeah,
eventually
yeah, yeah,
hoped, and, I think back, and I don't it was when you go through that magic doorway. Like,
yeah,
Callie, you're sitting here, and I'm so grateful that you're sitting here because you're also not feeling very well today. But I remember, like, when everything was better and she went through the magic doorway. Remember the level 2
mhm.
land?
Right.
yeah,
And I went to find you over there, and you were hidden in a corner
Yeah.
behind the
Yeah.
screen, and you're like, "I'm hiding from everyone." I just
I don't
like,
like it over here.
don't like it over
Right.
here, which is crazy because, like, the other side is, like, so intense, and, it's just there's a lot of beeping, ding dong lane, like, whatever you wanna call it. But then you go to, like, the happier side, and you're like, "I wanna go back to this other side," and I'm like, "No, no. It's just happier over here." It's good, and, like, I think about that a lot, and just, like, kinda bringing that back to what nurses do and how nurses impact your stay, and
Mhm.
you say what you say about me and Alyssa. I mean, I'm so grateful. I'm still friends with Alyssa, and I actually thought
Mhm.
about her, and,
hmm
We are
actually have
too.
her.
yeah, we are too.
Yeah, and, like, how she's
And
advanced
Kim,
her.
And Kim.
And Kim, yeah, Kim was my preceptor. I've talked about her on this podcast before.
Mhm.
She's an amazing nurse, and those were Kim was my role model in, like, what to do as a nurse, and really it's just being for me, it's just being compassionate.
Mhm.
And I think that that's probably why you've remained friends with all of us. It was more of a relationship. Like, we got past the nurse patient relationship. We were able to bond on a different level. And
Right.
I don't expect nurses to always do that with patients, right? That's actually not what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to be friends or whatever, but
Right.
it is important, especially in NICU and the amount of time that you're in there.
Exactly. I'm logging in 3
you've
months
got
with you.
3 months there,
I'm
so it's
Yeah.
kind of
logging in
difficult
months.
not to say how your
Yeah.
day was. Like,
Yeah.
you got a lot of time there. I could see it being like if you're there for a couple days in the feed and grow end and you're out in like 3, okay, well, you're not
Yeah.
going to get a big connection there. But when I see you for 96 days every day, but like 6 out of 7 days of the week, well, yeah,
Yeah.
then we're going to end up with some kind of a relationship
Yeah.
because I don't have anybody else here. So I
Yeah.
got to talk, so whatever it is.
Especially
Yeah.
when you're, like, waiting on your words to, like, because sometimes, like, I didn't understand all the things that the doctors were saying, so, like, they would walk away from rounding, and you would, like, dumb it down for me, not because we're idiots, we're just, like, not used to that stuff, and I'd be like,
Right.
"So tell me, what does this mean?" And it takes a lot, like, especially for me, who was, like, so, like, this is all gonna end terribly, like, it took a lot for me to, like, rely on you guys to, like, know that you guys knew that she was doing okay, and I had to,
Yeah.
like, trust that you guys knew best, and I had to just, like, open my heart and eyes that you guys knew what you were doing.
Yeah. And I think that message, because this podcast reaches a lot of nurses. I think this episode's gonna reach a lot more than that, but something that was really important for me to get across is how important as the nurse we are to make our patients or their families understand what's going on. Because
Mhm.
doctors, they're great, right? But they most of the time don't have the best bedside manner or the
Right.
ability to explain, and they don't have the time to spend with you either, and that's what a nurse does. We have the time. You are ours for the day, right? Like, we're gonna make sure that, good or bad, you understand what's going on,
Right.
and I think that that's something that you can attest is very important, and that hopefully that message will get across. But something I don't know if this has happened, so this is just me shooting in the dark here, but is there something and I don't want you to name names, but is there something
Eh.
that happened maybe from a nursing standpoint that you could shed light on, like, "Hey, this wasn't good," maybe, but if not, like, that's fine. I just was thinking, like, a lesson that maybe from your experience you could pass along to be like, not not the best experience you had with a nurse because of, or is it we were just all great?
Everybody was really great. There were some people who weren't as
Bedside friendly.
and that very well might be with the way they felt about you as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, the way that they felt about the relationship that I had developed with everybody who was mostly in what we call the ding dong pod.
Yeah.
Like, you guys mostly were all in that area. So if somebody else was like not in that area, I felt like maybe they weren't as quick to talk to me the way, or maybe I was just used to people really taking care of my brain and thought,
Yeah.
I mean, nobody sat there and held the conversations with me for hours upon hours upon hours. Like my whole entire time there, I was watching a lot of shows. But
Yeah.
uh, you
If
know,
one of you three weren't there and you're used to getting that, I don't want to say treatment or whatever
Yeah.
however you want to label it, like the explaining stuff to us, tell us what's going on, and then you got someone that comes in like over the weekend or whenever it was that's not their typical shift, and they just
Yeah.
come in, do their jam, and they leave,
Yeah.
and
You felt that.
then you don't get like we're expecting this conversation to happen, and she doesn't know anything about it, and or whether she wants to do that conversation or not, and then just walks away.
Yeah.
So it's everybody has a different bedside manner, and I get that.
Right.
But whether you're annoyed or not annoyed, or you're there and you got parents that are in a tizzy or you know scared, or whatever you want to, however you want to do it. So
Yeah.
you got to have a little bit of compassion no matter what. Like
Yeah.
you
And that
should at
I
least.
think that's very important because we're not all warm and fuzzy people, right? But
I mean,
you're
everybody
there.
has a bad day.
Yes, but you guys should never feel that effect, and I think that's important for nurses to understand. I could be having the best day of my life, but you also could be having the best or worst day of your life. So,
Yeah.
correct.
it's our job as nurses to take care of the patient and take care of the families. In my case, you guys are the people I deal with most. I take care of a baby, but I have to explain everything I do to you, and
Yeah.
I take it
Correct.
seriously, and I think it's important for nurses to take that seriously.
Right.
So 96 days, right? 96?
Yeah.
Yeah. 96.
96. And then something, to lighten this up a little bit, something I remember is when, Mark, I had to yell at you about the cavi wipes.
That was me.
Oh, then
It was me. I was.
Well,
I
you
had access to
them.
get them, yes, because I was able to get my hands on them.
I was using them to wipe myself off after breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone knows what a cavi wipe is, Sandy wipe for all the listeners. They're the disinfectant wipes for surfaces, and they have them right on there that says, "Don't use them on your skin." And you were wiping yourself down with them.
Yep. After.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the closet, in the milking closet. Yes.
The milking closet.
The milking closet. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then I came to visit you guys, like, I don't even know how long after.
I think it was her first birthday
Was it her first
party.
birthday? Yeah, and, you still had cavi wipes at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark bought like a case of them.
I bought
So
all the eco pumps and the cavi wipes. They told me I wasn't able to get them. I said, all right, well, so I called work and I said, can you order these? And they said, yeah, and they ordered them for me.
I was just reading down and I got the cavi wipe story and I was like, oh my God.
well, we gotta make this a little lighthearted. This is
Yeah.
pretty deep and emotional for all of us, but yeah, that's a funny story. So, don't wipe yourself down with cavi wipes.
Yeah, it's not correct. Yeah, it's not the correct
Nothing
use.
bad happened, but, um,
I didn't
so
like grow like a third nipple.
yeah. Thank goodness. Yeah, that's great. So with we haven't really talked about how successful Callie has been. I mean, 24 weeks, you'll be 13 on Christmas. Do we celebrate Christmas as the birthday, or do we still do the
Very small.
I mean,
very small?
it's her birthday, but we have
Yeah.
her parties in her NICU graduation day.
Oh, is it?
That's
Yeah,
normally her
We moved
party.
it to March.
Oh, I
Not
love
her
that.
birthday. She yeah, but we celebrate her for her NICU graduation.
My cake
Yeah.
and everything is on my party.
The party, all
Oh.
that's in March.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that kind of cool that you get 2 birthdays? Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
I
like
like
that?
it.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now? I heard you're really big into my favorite thing, which is it
So I
cheerleading?
do like cheerleading and dancing, and
Yeah.
I'm in the band.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What do you play in the band?
Percussion,
Oh my gosh.
like
Yeah,
drums.
I love that. I love that. So, and it's just so amazing. Like, I know you're probably starting to understand what 24 weeks means, but just for the nurses out there and just, people who don't know, 24 weeks to Callie sitting here and having a conversation and being able to just be this perfect little girl is a beyond successful story. And I think it's so amazing that you guys are willing to be vulnerable and put yourselves out there and share your story, because we've talked about how everything you read was bad when you
Yeah.
were going through this, and it shouldn't be that way. There should be
Right.
some positive information, real life information for people to read when they're going through this, because families go through this too often, and they
Well,
shouldn't
I have
should
somebody
just
who reaches out to me all the time from
yeah,
India. From India. She has a 26-weeker ROP. So she reaches out to me to ask questions about like changes in glasses and what
yeah,
we do, because she's just starting the process.
yeah. Oh,
I mean,
wow.
just all like a couple times a week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because that
Mhm.
I mean, really, that if we're gonna talk about any deficit from being born at 24 weeks, it's just been her vision, correct?
That's the only thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the only thing, which is
She was a little
incredible.
slow. She was a little slow for milestones at
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, of
Those were
course.
all a little slow,
Yeah,
but nothing past 5-ish.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
yeah, like we talked late, we walked late, we did all those things late. But
yeah,
you know, she works really hard in school now. She was behind, and even in all of those things for a little bit, but she's not anymore. She's worked really hard, and
yeah.
she's an honor roll student. She's amazing.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually just got LASIK surgery, so, I thought I was, just thinking about all these babies that get laser, I don't did she have laser?
Yeah.
255 burns in each eye.
Yeah, so
What
I thought
Dr.
if she
Glooman do?
we won't go there.
No,
Yeah.
cut that out. I'm allowed to say that if I say something wrong. You can cut that.
Yeah, but I was thinking when I was, like, laying there and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these babies can do it. If Callie can do it, I can do it." And, my eyes were bad. So the fact of just being born that prematurely and, okay, you wear glasses, that it's majority of the population in
Right.
in the world. So I just think your story is incredible. You are an amazing family. Even Ty, I wish Ty would be here too. Haven't seen him in a
He's
bit.
here.
He's here.
Ty guy,
Hiding downstairs.
He's hiding.
come say hi.
But I'm just so grateful for you guys and to have just developed this
Say hi real
relationship.
quick. Hi.
Hi, Ty. Oh my God, you're so big. And look, everyone wears glasses, so it's nothing.
I have contacts on and glasses. I'm
Oh,
in
look
the
at you.
reader phase of my life.
Yeah. But I
I
just
have
want to.
contacts.
You have contacts?
So does she. Callie wears contacts all the time.
Oh, see, look at this. I can't say enough how happy I am that your story is what it is, and you also share it. And this means so, so, so much to me. And I'm just so grateful for you guys. And I promise I will come see you, or you come here.
Yeah.
We'll choose that.
There you go.
Yeah,
California.
we'll go to San Diego.
Oh, I'd like to go to California.
Yes.
That'd be fun.
Yes. Well, we can wrap this up. Merry Christmas. And
Hey, Christmas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah. And thank you guys so, so much. Thank you for tuning in to Nursing Uncharted. You can learn more about this episode and our show on our website at amnhealthcare.com. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find show updates and nursing opportunities on our Instagram @AMN Nurse. Special thanks to AMN Healthcare for making this show possible.